We are kicking off with John Cena, who received a huge ovation on SmackDown this week in what was likely his final appearance at a WWE ring in Ireland, making it a special moment for everyone involved. Before Cena could even address the crowd, Logan Paul's entrance music hit, cutting him off and triggering a chorus of boos that set the tone for what followed. Paul wasted no time riling up the Irish crowd, deliberately referring to Dublin as England and brushing off the backlash as nothing more than noise that would soon get muted. Turning his attention to Cena, Paul delivered a barrage of insults. He mocked Cena as an actor who knows how to wrestle, a corporate puppet who blindly follows WWE's orders, and accused fans of never respecting him despite spending 4 years in the business. He then took a personal jab at Cena's Oscars appearance, claiming he didn't need to get naked on live television just to grab attention. Paul escalated further, branding Cena the true imposter and dragging up his past relationship with Nikki Bella for cheap heat. That was when Cena finally fired back. Acknowledging Paul's athleticism and potential to one day become WWE champion, Cena nonetheless branded him a disappointment who treats the company as nothing more than a marketing tool. He tore into Paul's limited resume, comparing his 23 matches to his own 23-year career, reminding Dublin fans that while he was battling Sheamus back in 2010, Paul was still making Vine videos. Cena then delivered the line that sent the crowd into a frenzy, calling Paul a parasite who takes from WWE without giving anything back. The arena instantly picked up the insult, chanting it at Paul as Cena dropped him with an emphatic attitude adjustment to close the in-ring segment. With Clash in Paris looming, the confrontation felt like a defining moment in what could be Cena's farewell run. Backstage, tensions only escalated. Drew McIntyre confronted Paul directly, telling him he was afraid of Cena and couldn't walk away without answering the challenge. Later that night, during the closing moments of SmackDown, cameras showed Paul leaving after the women's tag team main event. Shortly after, SmackDown general manager Nick Aldis approached John Cena with a cryptic update telling him, "I just heard from Brock Lesnar." Before anything more could unfold, Paul blindsided Cena in the hallway, attacking him from behind and leaving him laid out. Here's where things took an unusual turn. WWE reshot the post-show segment and aired 2 different versions depending on the broadcast. For international viewers on Netflix, Logan's punch didn't appear to connect, with Cena either dodging or only partially taking the hit. However, the US broadcast presented a completely different cut. Logan shoved Nick Aldis aside before delivering a clean punch that dropped Cena flat. WWE hasn't explained publicly why the scene was reshot or altered between versions, but according to PW Torch, Logan's original punch may not have landed as intended, which could explain why the company decided to adjust the scene for television. Regardless, the segment dropped a major hint that Brock Lesnar's return could be tied directly to Cena's path in Paris. Whether he shows up at during or after Cena's match, the seeds have clearly been planted. So wrestling fans, why do you think WWE chose to reshoot this segment? Was it a matter of production polish, or is there a bigger storyline reason? SmackDown's debut show in Ireland kicked off with a bang, but it was a Monday Night Raw superstar who did it, as Becky Lynch fittingly started the night with a thunderous ovation from the Dublin fans. Lynch put over what it meant to have SmackDown take place in Dublin, but she rapidly turned on her home crowd by saying the Irish people didn't deserve it and stated that she attempted to get the show cancelled. It was a great way of instantly turning the fans against her, despite Lynch's initial popularity, and the arena immediately erupted into chants for Lyra Valkyria, but Becky pointed out she wouldn't be getting another title shot. Lynch blasted the lack of Irish media coverage throughout her career and continued to deliver an incredible heel promo, which is one of the best of her entire run, as she relished in the chance to turn this crowd against her. She was eventually interrupted, and it was Tiffany Stratton who did so. She threatened to send the man packing, and that's when Hijacks arrived to back Lynch up, which led to Jade Cargill appearing to even the numbers. This set up the inevitable tag team main event as Nick Aldis made it official, with WWE spotlighting a potential rivalry between Lynch and Cargill down the line. The question now is, are you interested in watching Becky Lynch versus Jade Cargill when they finally square off? Lynch and Jax were shown backstage agreeing to be on the same page, despite their rocky history, but it wasn't a smooth start for them when the bell rang for the main event. Stratton leapt off the top rope to hit a huge senton onto the floor, wiping both the heels out in an instant, creating one of the most memorable moments of the entire night. The finish was also dramatic, as Lynch opted to abandon Jax in the middle of the encounter. She walked away and left Jax alone, allowing Cargill to hit her finisher and pin the former Women's World Champion. It wasn't the cleanest match ever, with a few rocky spots taking place here and there. Still, the finish worked, and it gave Jade more momentum as the tension in this complex rivalry increased. Enjoying the video? A quick like goes a long way in helping us grow and deliver more wrestling news you care about. Elsewhere, Carmelo Hayes put over The Miz during a segment with Fraxium backstage, which was a unique moment where the former NXT star actually showed appreciation and respect for his partner. They then competed against Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley as Miz and Hayes continue their search for tag team gold, and Melo opted to start the match against Sabin, which The Miz was fine with. Hayes teased tagging Miz in but pulled his hand away, though the Aleister then did tag in as the two of them smirked about the situation and seemingly remained on the same page. The former TNA team showcased their experience with some double team moves, and that allowed them to take control of the pace until The Miz stole the win from Melo once again. Hayes didn't seem overly upset about the situation this time around though, just accepting that it was a win in what was their best tag team match as a duo so far. It's worth noting that the Dublin crowd made their feelings clear during the match, rallying behind The Miz with thunderous "We Want Miz" chants. The reaction was so overwhelming that Melo briefly broke character, acknowledging the energy from the fans. With this win, the team of Miz and Melo advances to next week's bout that will determine the #1 contenders for the tag team championships. The road now points them directly toward a looming clash with the Wyatt Six, who once again made their eerie presence felt. Earlier in the night, Melo and Miz were shown backstage with Fraxium, where Hayes unexpectedly came to The Miz's defense. Lurking nearby were the reigning tag team champions Joe Gacy and Dexter Lumis, continuing their pattern of shadowing the challengers. Away from the tag team picture, celebration surrounded Jimmy Uso, with the announcement of Naomi's pregnancy sparking plenty of joy. Solo Sikoa even joked that the baby should be named after him, while Sami Zayn shifted the tone by declaring his interest in challenging for the United States Championship. But the real story came from what viewers spotted in the background. Uncle Howdy could be seen watching from behind Solo, while Eric Rowan appeared near the production truck. The imagery mirrored last week's clues, adding fuel to speculation that the Wyatt Six are preparing for a collision course with Solo's MFT faction in what could become a major storyline on WWE television. The unsettling theme continued later in the show when cameras caught Nikki Cross silently watching from behind Kiana James, Michin, and the United States champion Julia. The moment left fans questioning her intentions, as it was unclear who exactly Nikki Cross was targeting. The repeated appearances by these shadowy figures left fans buzzing, with signs pointing toward a wider Wyatt Six takeover. Unfortunately, there was bad news on SmackDown this week as Wade Barrett revealed that Alexa Bliss wasn't medically cleared, which led to her missing the trip to Dublin, with that being a consequence of the brutal attack she received last week. That led to Charlotte Flair being alone when she competed against Piper Niven, who had Chelsea Green and Alba Fire in her corner, meaning the Queen was isolated and fighting against the odds from the start. Niven took advantage of that and the size difference to take control early on, but Flair didn't allow that forever. However, the outside distractions allowed Niven to keep dominating as she caused problems for the Queen. Flair did build up some momentum though as she locked in the figure 8, but Green and Fire got involved again to help their partner break out of the move as Niven hit her finisher to score a massive victory. It was arguably Niven's biggest singles win to date in what was a decent match, and giving her such a significant victory was refreshing to see. The Street Profits were also involved in a tag team match this week, taking on JC Mateo and Tonga Loa, with Solo Sikoa not far behind. The Street Profits dominated the start with some rapid-fire double-team moves, but then the entire match belonged to the MFTs, even though Jimmy Uso was on hand to attack Tala Tonga with a chair. Mateo ended up receiving "You Can't Wrestle" chants at one point, which was an utterly bizarre situation given his talent. However, he did get pinned after Sami Zayn took out Sikoa, allowing the Profits to take advantage. It was a fairly standard tag team match, but the drama involved in the final few minutes did elevate it to something more memorable. Cody Rhodes was attacked 2 weeks ago on SmackDown by Drew McIntyre, and he hasn't been seen since. His absence continued this week as he wasn't involved in the show. Fans expected a health update, and Joe Tessitore admitted they were looking to deliver that. However, he acknowledged that it wasn't possible, as there was still no news on the situation. Another man who was missing from SmackDown this week was R-Truth, who was scheduled to compete against Aleister Black on the show. Black was in the ring when Truth appeared on the big screen and admitted he got a flight to Dublin, Georgia, rather than Dublin, Ireland, as he sent Damian Priest to compete on his behalf. Priest and Black brawled immediately, and the situation between them became so heated that the referee couldn't start the match, as security had to try and pull them apart. While the brawl was entertaining, it was a disappointing segment overall, as it seems WWE has abandoned Truth's more serious character in a bid to return to being a comedy act. Once the ring was cleared, Drew McIntyre made his way out to address Cody Rhodes. He pointed out the lack of medical updates, claiming the American Nightmare had no friends, but that wasn't the case. This was when Randy Orton returned to drop Drew with an RKO out of nowhere, ending the segment in a brilliant way that had a huge reaction from the fans. It appears that WWE might be setting up a match between McIntyre and Orton for Clash in Paris, with the winner possibly moving on to face Rhodes, which would make sense. McIntyre did add some heat in the segment as he grabbed the announcer's notes in an unusual moment, as he wanted to see Rhodes' update. It created a rare moment where the notes were used in a segment, which made this stand out even more. Vince McMahon has reappeared in public for the first time since his shocking car crash, and his drastically different look is already making headlines. On August 23, 2025, the former WWE champion was spotted in New York City, leaving a restaurant alongside longtime allies Bruce Pritchard and JBL. Cameras captured McMahon stepping out of the building and into the backseat of a waiting vehicle. What stood out was that he wasn't behind the wheel this time, a small but notable detail given the circumstances of his recent accident. Just weeks earlier, McMahon was involved in a serious collision on Connecticut's Merritt Parkway, a crash that forced another driver off the road and left many questioning his condition. In the aftermath, he largely disappeared from view. His only appearance came during the TMZ special The Real Hulk Hogan, where he debuted a surprising new look, slicked back white hair that instantly drew attention. This latest sighting in Manhattan shows his transformation is even more striking. With a hairstyle some have compared to a Cruella de Vil-inspired white mane, McMahon looks drastically different from the image he projected for decades. Combined with the fallout from the crash, his reemergence marks a cautious step back into the public eye, one that's already sparking fresh questions about what lies ahead for one of wrestling's most controversial figures. WWE's legendary video archive may soon be moving behind a paywall, and fans aren't likely to be happy about it. According to Wrestling Observer Radio, there's strong internal expectation that WWE's massive library of archived content will shift to ESPN Plus before the end of the year. While the move hasn't been officially confirmed, it would take thousands of hours of classic matches, documentaries, and historic footage off free platforms like YouTube. Dave Meltzer noted, "It's expected that the archives will go to ESPN by the end of the year. That hasn't been confirmed 100%, but that is the expectation internally." The shift wouldn't just cover the old WWE Network library. Meltzer explained that ESPN is aiming to acquire the full on-demand collection, which includes Vault-style footage and even WWE's YouTube classics. As he put it, not just WWE Network's archives, but also WWE's YouTube Vault content, classic matches, historical documentaries, everything. ESPN wants to own all of it. If the deal goes through, fans who have long relied on free YouTube access may find themselves needing an ESPN Plus subscription to revisit WWE's history. The move fits into WWE's larger $1.625 billion streaming agreement with ESPN, which officially begins in 2026 and already covers premium live events. While ESPN Plus provides reliable infrastructure and a strong US-based audience, the change could create accessibility concerns, particularly for international fans and those hesitant to take on yet another streaming cost. We have some important news as WWE Raw is set for a wave of broadcast changes over the next 3 months as the company adapts its schedule around international events and shifting partnerships. According to Wrestling Observer newsletter and WWE's own advertising, Raw will undergo several time slot adjustments heading into the end of the year. The first comes this month, with Raw airing worldwide on Netflix at 3 p.m. Eastern. This change will apply to the August 25th episode, as well as the post-Clash in Paris broadcast. SmackDown, however, will continue airing in the US at its regular time, though Netflix will carry the episodes earlier for global audiences. September also brings a noticeable adjustment. The Raw episodes on September 15th, September 22nd, and September 29th are all being promoted with a new 7 p.m. Eastern start time, 1 hour earlier than usual. Dave Meltzer reported that it's not yet clear whether WWE plans to run untelevised content during the original hour, or if the change is strictly a temporary scheduling move. While some speculation points to conflicts with NFL coverage, future Raw dates are listed at the normal time, suggesting this is an isolated shift. Finally, October will see perhaps the biggest change. On October 13th, WWE Raw will be broadcast live from Perth, Australia, forcing a significant time difference for US viewers. That episode will air at 8 a.m. Eastern, while SmackDown that week will be shown in the US on a 12-hour tape delay to maintain its traditional primetime slot. With Raw entering this stretch of unusual scheduling, WWE is clearly testing the flexibility of its new streaming partnerships and international reach. The question now is whether fans will adapt to these shifts, or if early airings and time zone changes will affect viewership. Now, WWE appears to have singled out a rising name in the Judgment Day for a major push, with plans that could shape the company's future. The The standout in question is Roxanne Perez, who was added to the group during Liv Morgan's absence after being introduced by Finn Balor. Since then, Perez has been woven into multiple storylines, from teasing her interest in Dominic Mysterio to chasing the Women's Tag Team Championship alongside Raquel Rodriguez. According to Body Slam's Patreon report, WWE now views Perez as a major star in the making. The 23-year-old is already showing signs of becoming a key figure, with speculation that her push could eventually lead to championship contention. If she were to capture a world title on the main roster, she would also make history as the youngest to ever do so. Of course, WWE may not necessarily be positioning her for gold just yet. The company could instead be grooming Perez as a central attraction within storylines, building her presence as a long-term player in the women's division. Either way, fans are keeping a close eye on her rise, waiting to see just how far WWE intends to take her momentum. Do you think Roxanne Perez has what it takes to become the youngest women's world champion in WWE history? Rumors are building that Jim Ross could be preparing for a return to WWE as his AEW contract approaches its expiration at the end of this month. Some speculation has even gone as far as suggesting that this Sunday's Forbidden Door pay-per-view might serve as his final broadcast with AEW. The claim originated from Chris Featherstone, who reported that there has been backstage chatter in AEW about Ross possibly wanting to finish his storied career back in WWE. However, that doesn't entirely line up with Ross's own recent comments. Just 2 weeks ago on Grilling JR, Ross addressed his contract status directly when Conrad Thompson asked about his future. "I think my contract's up in August. I'm not planning on going anywhere. I like my part-time schedule. It lets me keep my batteries charged. I like working for Tony Khan because he's always been fair and civil to me, and that I appreciate." Ross went further, explaining why he values his role in AEW and praising Tony Khan's unique approach to producing announcer. "You know, whenever he produces announced talent, and I would hear on headsets like these, oftentimes I don't even hear him because he's not overly hyped and active. And he certainly has the ability to be. He owns it. He's smart. It's easy to be a little eccentric and a pain in the ass producing announcing talent. It's not an easy job, and it can really screw up your announcers up by getting them off their rhythm and messing up their timing." The legendary broadcaster also made it clear that he isn't stressed about the negotiations, with longtime agent Barry Bloom handling everything. "Barry Bloom is my agent. He's working on it. I'm not worried about it." Based on Ross's own words, it doesn't sound like he's planning a WWE return, at least not right now. Unless something drastic has changed in the past 2 weeks, the talk of him wrapping up his career in WWE doesn't match the picture he's painting. That leaves fans with an intriguing debate. Should Jim Ross close out his legendary career in AEW where he currently enjoys his role, or would one final WWE run be the fitting send-off? Outside of the WWE bubble, Riot Cabaret Pro Wrestling's Someone's Knocking at the Door event in London ended with a shocking moment as a WWE superstar made a surprise appearance. Nico Angelo defeated Mark Andrews to become the new Riot Cabaret champion, but Andrews then attacked him with a chair. This is when Pete Dunne made a surprise appearance to confront the former WWE superstar. Dunne received a huge ovation due to the surprise nature of his appearance, creating an unexpected twist to that event. What do you think of Pete Dunne's surprise appearance? Do you want to see more crossovers like this? Please share your thoughts and feedback in the comments section below. This week was also the 10th anniversary of Bayley and Sasha Banks' iconic match at NXT TakeOver Brooklyn, which is still considered to be one of the best women's matches ever, and they celebrated it with an Instagram Live together. Despite working for different companies, the former rivals and partners came together to create a fun moment for the fans, but toward the end of the stream, things took an interesting turn. That is due to Mercedes Moné teasing the idea of another match, as she said that she was going for her 9th title that night, and when Bayley admitted she just wanted one, the AEW star told her to come and challenge her. Moné doubled down and said, "So what do you think about one more match?" which is a comment that set wrestling fans in overdrive with excitement. Moné did indeed go on to win her 9th title at Rev Pro Global Wars, defeating Emerson Jane to achieve this, adding to her belt-collecting run and creating another title for Bayley to possibly fight for. Unfortunately, while Bayley and Moné might have teased the idea of them competing against each other, the divide between WWE and AEW is something that's going to make this almost impossible for the time being. We're ending with Roman Reigns news after he's been appearing regularly in recent times, but this week on Raw, he turned up as a surprise, which isn't the norm for him, as WWE typically promotes Reigns ahead of time. After a shocking appearance last week, it's back to business as usual, as WWE has pre-announced Reigns to be a part of Raw this coming week. Not only that, but he will be opening the show to address the WWE Universe. After a match at Clash in Paris was confirmed between Reigns and Bronson Reed, he'll likely be addressing that, and it remains to be seen if Reed's shoe-stealing behavior will come back to haunt him.